So you want to make homemade flour tortillas. You could have found a recipe just about anywhere. They're everywhere online, but you're here because you need more than a recipe. You need somebody to guide you and help you accomplish your goal of making warm, fresh, homemade flour tortillas. First thing we're gonna do is take 3 cups of water and warm it up. You're not gonna boil it, you're just gonna warm it up. We're gonna work this in with our hands into the dry ingredients, so you don't want it super hot. This recipe produces about 2 dozen tortillas, give or take 1 or 2. I'm gonna be using 7 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of salt. Next, we're going to use some vegetable shortening. I'm using about half a cup, and I'm just going to take it with my hands and pack it into the measuring cup. I want to be pretty precise though, because too much shortening is going to cause flaky and hard tortillas. If you've tried to make tortillas in the past and the edges were frayed, it's because you had too much shortening. You want to make sure to combine all the shortening into the dry ingredients. I'm going to use my hands to break up any clumps and just make sure that it's evenly distributed. I've been making tortillas since I was about 12 years old, and I'm teaching my 11-year-old now how to make them. He's getting pretty good at rolling them, but that's like the hardest part for him, and that's the hardest part for most people, so I'm going to spend a little time on that part, so stay tuned for that. We're going to take the 3 cups of warm water and add them into the mix. Make sure to test the water just to make sure that it's not too hot to handle, because there's nothing worse than boiling hot batter on your hand. At this point, we're folding in all the ingredients, and just make sure to bring in all the ingredients, all the dry ingredients from the bottom and the sides of the bowl. If you find it hard to integrate all the ingredients, it's because there's not enough water. Just maybe add 1 ounce to that and work it in. Don't add too much. You probably need less than you think. As you work with the dough, you will begin to see it combine and become smoother. Now we can remove it from the bowl and begin to knead it with both hands. I want you to see the texture here. It's soft and it's not dry, and it actually needs a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick to the surface. With both hands, we're going to knead the dough by pressing the center and then folding the edges in. You're going to notice that the dough becomes long, it becomes elongated, and that's part of it. You're going to fold and tuck the edges back into the center and then begin to pressure the dough with both hands once again. Going a little slower so that you can see it, but once you get the hang of it, you're going to be able to pick up the pace. After a few minutes, you're going to notice that the dough is getting even smoother. You're going to continue to knead for around 5 minutes. We'll be placing it in a mixing bowl, so make sure that it's completely dry and clean. To avoid drying out the dough, you're going to need to cover it with plastic wrap and seal the top of the bowl. If your bowl doesn't have a lid, it's okay. Just cover it with a kitchen towel. As long as the surface of the dough has plastic wrap on it, it shouldn't dry out. The dough will need to rest for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now we're ready to form the dough balls, or testales as they're called in Spanish. I'm going to pinch off the approximate size that I need. This should give me about 2 dozen. Using my index finger, I'm going to roll the edge under the dough ball while my palm holds it in place. I'm going to use my palm to hold the dough, and with the other hand, I'm going to guide it and turn the dough. The bottom will look like a belly button, but don't worry about that. It's going to be just fine. I'm going to need to repeat this process until I have 2 dozen testales. A common mistake here is to overwork the dough at this point. Once again, I'm tucking the seams down to the bottom. Tucking the seams under will ensure that the edges of the tortillas are smooth and rounded. Some of them are going to need a lot of work, while others are going to be ready in just a couple of movements. The dough will need to rest once more for about 15 to 20 minutes. Cover them again with plastic wrap and a kitchen towel. On a clean work surface, you're going to place the dough with the seam facing down, adding a little bit of flour to the top. That's going to make it easier to roll out. I start rolling a little bit above the bottom, and I stop just before the top. Each time I roll, I'm rolling with a little bit of pressure and then turning a quarter turn, and then rolling again, then turning a quarter turn and rolling again. And so I'm going to press them a little further I'm gonna grab, that's where I'm gonna grab, right there. I'm gonna grab there. That's one. See this edge here? I'm just gonna pull it right there. See how this is not round. Once I pull this, it's round. That is a round tortilla. See, where am I gonna grab it? I'm gonna grab it there, and I'm gonna try to extend this too. Boom, boom. That's it. Now this one's oblong. I'm gonna pull it there. That's it. You lay them down, that's one. You're gonna turn it once, that's two. And you're gonna turn it the final time, that's three. So this is one cooking side, second cooking side. See how they're not fully cooked yet? We're just looking for a kind of like a par cook. We can test here. Those look great. Those look great. And so this is the final cook down right there. I don't know about you, but I like a fresh flour tortilla with a little bit of butter. It just melts away. The butter melts away, but also your stress. No, I'm just kidding. That's why I'm fat, because I tell myself lies. I'm just gonna try that. Look how soft that is.